Welcome back, Wolves fans, to this edition of Timberwolves Today on Fan Arch. I'm your host, Mark Fiers, looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves and all of the latest news, rumors, trade gossip, deep dives, hot takes, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to start off today with really the only big news, or really any news, for the Timberwolves. They are on the All-Star break. That is over. All of the Anthony Edwards to Atlanta rumors are over, hopefully, or anywhere else. I've seen him and going to other teams as well. Let's just put that aside for now and focus on our newest and oldest Timberwolf, Mike Conley, who has re-signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They needed to do that right now because they need to get to roster size before they start playing again on Friday. And so the team does look a little bit different now with the addition of Io DeSumo at the trade deadline. So we want to look at what impact Mike Conley will bring now that he is back on the Timberwolves. The first thing that he's going to bring back is leadership. The leadership in the locker room, mainly from a culture standpoint, leadership on the bench from a culture standpoint. I don't think we're going to see that much more out of him in a bench role. I think he understood when the Wolves released him or traded him the first time that they essentially are saying you're not a part of our long-term playoff plan. So I think he gets that. I think he just wants to come back to the culture, to the locker room, something familiar. He does bring that stability back to the team. And I think really the thing that he brings most is a sense of homeostasis. Yes, that's a big word, homeostasis. I'm going to read the definition straight from Google: the tendency toward a relatively stable equilibrium between interdependent elements, especially as maintained by physiological processes. That is what Mike Conley is bringing. He is bringing homeostasis to the young Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid. He's going to bring some homeostasis to Bones Highland and Io DeSumo. And so that is the impact that he is going to have. What can we expect to see from him from the bench? I would say probably he's going to see maybe 6 to 12 minutes. There might be some games where we don't even see him. It'll eat a little bit into the minutes of Dante, Io, and Bones, but not much. I would see him starting with about 6 minutes early in that second quarter to give guards a break. And then depending how the game script goes, he might get back in the second half. But if things are going well and Bones, Io, Dante are playing well, I would say that Chris Finch will be fine leaving Mike Conley on the bench. I do expect when he is on the court to get a little bit better shooting from him. I think there was, he is getting old, right? But I think there was a little bit of a pressure from him with all the talk about point guard, with the lack of depth at the guard position. There was a little bit of undue stress he was placing on himself. He doesn't have to be that person anymore with Io on the team. And so I think that will release some of that pressure on Conley when he is in the game. So I think that's what we can expect to see from Mike Conley in his return to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I am glad he's back, even if he doesn't see the court. I think the impact that he will have as a stabilizing presence, as a homeostatic presence to the Wolves will be a benefit to them in the stretch run and then also in the playoffs. The second really kind of addition to the team that we really didn't think about is the return of TJ Shannon, or Terrence Shannon Jr. He comes back. He had that basically missed most of the first half or pre All-Star season. He is back. He had a 2-game rehab stint in Iowa where he played 20 minutes, scored 11 points. And in the last game on February 11th, the last game before the All-Star break, he put up 36 points in just 21 minutes. The math is good. He scored a lot of points. So he definitely can bring to the team another option off the bench. It's insurance in case One of our guards slash forwards misses any time due to injury, sickness, whatever the case may be. So we can rely on him for scoring, and I think he can be a reliable presence if Dante goes into it. Well, Dante's kind of in a slump anyway. Bones is in a slump. Io's in a slump. Mike just can't get out of his own head back into the lineup and having a significant impact. TJ really brings that insurance policy, and someone Finch knows at least he can get high energy effort off, especially on the offensive end. And so that is what he's going to bring, that option, that insurance, but also he brings pace. I would love to see in a second unit Bones, Io, Shannon, Jaden, and Nas all on the court together. They would get up and down the court. They would push the pace. The average time of possession would probably be about 8 to 9 seconds, not your 22, 23, 24 like we see when Ant and Randall are in the game. I think that would be a gigantic change of pace. I think it would put a lot of pressure on the other team. It would put a lot of pressure on second team players who typically aren't on the court starting because of a lack of defense or lack of transition defense. So curious to see what Finch does with the different lineups he puts out on the court. But I think that combo of Bones, Io, Shannon, Jaden, and Nas could play at a very, very high pace, and really provide a much needed punch, offensive punch for the team. I think, what can we expect? I think Shannon will get about 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes. I think that there are going to be a lot of games where he doesn't even see the court. Again, I think a lot of it goes to game script. It goes to, if Dante gets into early foul trouble, if Bones is playing, having a lot of turnovers, I could see Shannon getting a few more minutes. But I do think that there are games where he won't see the court at all. If he does get those 10 minutes, I would expect him to probably get 8 to 10 points in those 10 minutes. His minutes and Conley's to some extent, but Shannon's minutes probably means the end of any meaningful time for Jalen Clark in the lineup. So, something that I was doing a little bit of a deep dive on based on a stat that I saw scrolling through X, is the on-off rating. And so I don't know if this is kind of it was a brand new statistic to me. It is an overall on-off net rating differential representing the largest swings in performance when they are on versus off the court. The players hold it. The players hold the highest net rating differential, which measures the difference in a team's point differential per 100 possessions when the player is on the court compared to when they are off the court. So you know what plus minus is, right? When they're on the court, the team scores +4. They score 4 more points when they're on the court. But what happens when they go off the court? And so again, it measures the swing, and it measures the difference or the impact of that they have when they're not on the court versus when they are on the court. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was the MVP, you'd expect he would be really high on this, but he's not, because the bench really doesn't have that much of a drop off when he goes off the court. So when he goes off the court, the bench comes in. They still play at a really high level. So the baseball stat is wins above replacement. It's kind of like that. There's not a gigantic difference in the points above replacement from the bench. So we looked at these stats, and there were, let me pull this up here. I got to find where I put them. There's one Timberwolf that is in the top 10. in the NBA, players with this on-off net differential. Number one is Giannis. Number two is Jokic. Number three is Lauri Markkanen. So those are the top three, meaning when they come off the court, whoever's replacing them does a crappy job, basically. And we know this with Giannis and Jokic, right? And so it's really like teams that have bad benches. Fourth is Donovan Mitchell. Fifth, Hugo Gonzalez, Jalen Suggs, Denny Avila, AJ Green, Victor Wembanyama is number 9. So those are the top 9. And at number 10 is a Minnesota Timberwolf. This is someone who, again, has that impact that when he leaves the court, things fall apart more than when he's on the court, and he has the greatest impact. If I were to ask you to guess who that is, and you're already starting to think in your head, who might that be? Naturally, you'd think Ant would be towards the top of that list. But when he's coming off the court, essentially he's getting replaced by, Bones, Dante, Jaden, Nas, they're coming in. And so they don't have as much of a dip there. You think Randall might have a big impact on things, Nas, Jaden. The person with the highest net rating differential is actually Dante DiVincenzo. And so I bring up this stat because I know there are a lot of Dante DiVincenzo haters out there. There's a lot of people that think that he should be removed from the starting lineup, that Io should be placed in, that Dante is just too much of a liability and a liability offensively. One of the things that I love about Dante is when things are cold, when he isn't hitting the threes, he still has a big impact on the game. He can, to a strong extent, run the offense. He can put up assists in bunches. He can play defense. He's a hustle guy. He has a big impact. And for those that are saying we need to cut down Dante's minutes, we need to remove him from the starting lineup, I think he's actually exactly where he needs to be. Io can be coming off the bench, providing a spark, providing a kick to that offense, and I think he can create his shot a little bit better than Dante. But I really wanted to point that out again, just to throw some love out to Dante because of his impact on the team. The last thing that I'm going to talk about today is the Wolves' run. Can they match their 17-4 run from last year? The Wolves, actually. A lot of people don't remember this because we have bad memories. But the Wolves lost 4 of 5 games coming out of the All-Star break last year. So the sky was falling. Oh, what is going on? They're going to miss the playoffs. They're going to be in the play-in. Things were DEFCON 4 at that point with Minnesota Timberwolves fans. Then they went on and finished the season 17-4. They were the 6th seed. They went 18-8 on the second half, the 26 games. If you were watching the other pods, I believe that the Wolves will probably go 19-7. Could they go 23-4? I think they could, or 22-4. I think they could. I don't think that's realistic. I think 19-7, which would be 1 game better than they did last year, even with a 17-4 run, I think gets them the 4 or 5 seed. Probably not the 3 seed, but the 4 or 5. I have no problem getting the 4 or 5 seed and having to play Oklahoma City in the second round this year. So all of this to say, do not panic if the Wolves start slow. If they come out slow out of the gate, it's 26 games. It's going to be a race, but it's a long race. It's like the 800, if you've ever run the 800 in track. It's a long, long sprint. That's what this 26-game stretch is for the Wolves getting into the playoffs. Another point here with the Wolves run at the end, 13 of the 26 remaining games will be aired nationally, either on Peacock, Prime, ABC, or ESPN. So for those of you that don't have FanDuel, you will be able to get to see half of the Timberwolves games remaining in the regular season. So that's good news for everyone. And I actually enjoy sometimes hearing some of those national voices talk about the Wolves just to get some different takes. You don't have to hear Jim Peterson talk all the time. Love Jim, but sometimes we need a different voice. That is it for today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, hit the comments. I will reply. If you have questions, talk back, feedback, I can definitely hit those in upcoming pods. Have a great day, everybody.